What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast, where we're helping you just build a better practice and have fun while doing it. So today, I'm pumped. Ben, Naren, what's up, dudes?
Up, Jordan? Great.
We're going to be talking about why practices fail with marketing, which I think, man, I have been talking to so many dentists lately. I built a new sales team, so I've been working a lot with them daily here, and I've been just talking to practices again a ton with our team, and holy smokes, they need help with marketing big time. So I'm glad that we're going to be doing this episode, Naren, and glad that you're here to kind of shed some light on why practices fail with marketing, what they can do about it. So very few practices truly say I'm killing it with marketing. Why is that?
The reason very few practices say they're killing it with marketing is, I think there are a few reasons, but I loved one of the people I was speaking to yesterday, and he's an existing client, and he said a lot of the things you're saying are obvious, but we don't do the obvious.
Sure.
Like a lot of marketing is kind of common sense, but doing it takes a lot of discipline, and most of us, I think, fail in that, and therefore we don't do the obvious, do the basic things. So
Sure.
The number one reason I think people fail with marketing is they don't start with a clear map. See, if you're going to a brand new city, and of course, imagine you don't have GPS and Google Maps. Let's say this is the old days. If you don't have a good map of that city, you really can't get around that city, right? This is pre-Google, pre-internet, pre-GPS. So
Sure.
The first thing we all did was to make sure we had a good map. So I remember every trip I went, like I would go to, AAA and then get their set of maps. This is, I'm talking 97, 98
Yeah, I was
or
going to say.
prior, right? I'm dating myself, but so you need a good map. I think the number one reason people fail with marketing is they don't really have a clear, concise map, right? Imagine having the wrong map. Let's say you get a map of New York from 1950s and you're trying to navigate New York today with that map from 1950s. You will get lost. A lot of things have changed in those years. The businesses have changed, even the streets have changed, the buildings
Sure.
have changed. So if you don't get a current up-to-date map, you will get lost. I think that's like at a fundamental level, why practices fail. So I do think as we go through this conversation, we should spend a bit of time kind of getting the right map, getting like the right perspective to think about marketing. Because once you have the right map, then it comes down to, are you executing perfectly, right? Now that you know what to do, are you taking the right turns at the right time? And are you just following the map properly, as opposed to like missing exits or missing turns and then again, going around in circles?
I remember back in the day, I used to print out the MapQuest
Yeah,
step-by-step instructions.
Me
and
too.
then we would drive from San Francisco out to Utah or LA out to Vegas. And now it's like, I don't know how we did that back then, because you're driving and you got your paper that you're looking up at.
Well, and if you think about it too, it really wasn't that long ago that we were doing stuff like that, like 2005.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I remember traveling in Hawaii in 2008, and I think the iPhones maybe had just come out, or 2009, 2008, that era. And I remember getting so pissed because the GPS didn't load. Because I bought like a separate GPS unit, like the Garmin units,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't loading the map. And I was so pissed because I'm like, I don't know where to go. I didn't print out my stupid map. I just was trying to do the GPS. It's crazy that it wasn't that long ago that we were doing stuff like that.
I know. Thank you, NASA. Thank you, NASA, for great GPS. Naren, I have two-part questions for you. So help me understand a couple of things. So first, what is effective marketing? And then secondly, what options do practice owners have from just a general marketing standpoint?
Two great questions. So what is effective marketing, right? Marketing is about, step one, helping people who have a need. Let's say I'm looking for a new dentist because I don't like my current dentist, or I just moved to town, right? That's an example of somebody having a need. Or, you know what? I don't like my crooked smile. I do have a dentist, but I just want to go to somebody who's really good at, giving me that beautiful smile as opposed to my crooked teeth and so forth, right? So I have a need. So first part of marketing, to answer your question about what is effective marketing, is to help those with a need find you when they have that need. When they're looking for a solution for that need, you need to be the one they discover as part of their research, as part of their search. So that to me is the first part of marketing. Imagine like this person goes to God and complains, how come I'm praying to you all, for the last 10 years, I'm so poor and you don't help me. And the God goes, did you ever buy that lottery ticket I told you to buy? So it's like, there's the same joke. I've heard it some other way, like there was flooding and everybody's dying and this guy dies because, and then he goes to heaven and he's like, God, I wanted you to save me. How come you didn't save me? He's like, I sent you that chopper. How come you didn't get into the chopper? Like, I mean, even God can't help you that if you don't help yourself. So I think first part of marketing is when people are searching to find a solution, meet their needs, are you showing up? Are you the ones they are discovering as part of their search? If you don't show up, you can't blame the patient for not choosing you because they didn't even know that you are somebody who can help them. So that's the first part of marketing. And the second part of marketing is, okay, now that they have found you, along with 5 other dentists, let's say, or 10 other dentists, why should they choose you versus the other 4, the other 10? So that's giving them a reason to choose you. So really, it's that simple. It sounds so basic and fundamental, I guess the word obvious, but most practices, don't do those 2 things well. Most practices, 95% of the practices don't do a good job in helping people find them when those people are looking for the need that the dentist can solve. And then even when they're found, they don't do a good job in helping convince me as the patient to call your office. So if you don't do these 2 things, you're not going to get new patients, at least not quality patients. Before I jump into your second part questions, any follow-ups on that, Ben or Jordan?
I think we always ignore the obvious, right? It's kind of funny when you study like why we do things, right? The human brain, and you look at how magicians, how they become successful. And I was watching, what's his name? He has a show in Vegas that was also on TV, but he's like, magic is stupid. Like you're doing something that is just stupid, but you're tricking the mind, right? Because the mind is relatively lazy, right? It wants easy things. And yet when it comes to like the way you describe marketing there, Naren, is that it's the obvious, simple things. And sometimes I wonder, well, why don't we just go back to doing simple things, right? Things that are proven to work. But the way you explained it, it takes dedication. It's like, it's simple, but it takes work. It takes focus and attention. You got to commit to it, and not just do it once and it works once and you give up on it, right? You got to create your momentum.
Yes, one of my heroes is Michael Jordan. Growing up, I was in Chicago when he came back and I was going to university at the time. I mean, the guy was just magical, right? And every time they would interview him, he keeps talking about basics, fundamentals. That was his favorite word. It's all about the fundamentals. It's not the complicated stuff. Just the basics.
Interesting.
But we don't do those.
Oh, before you start on that,
we want to complicate it more. Yeah.
So quick story about basketball. So Shaquille O'Neal, I can't remember if it was in college or high school. So he dribbles the ball and he it's open lane, right? He goes up to the basket and he lets the ball roll off of his finger and it hits the backboard and bounces off. Shaq's dad ran onto the court and said, call timeout. And of course, Shaq's like, no, we're in the middle of a game. And the dad said, call timeout now. So they call timeout. And he pulls Shaq aside and he says, what are you doing? And Shaq's like, oh, I'm trying to get my Dr. J on. And Shaq's dad smacked him right in the face. And he said, you're Shaq. Be Shaq. Do you know what Shaq did? He was so embarrassed because he got slapped in front of everybody. He was so mad that he's like, okay, I'm going to be Shaq. So here he is, he's dunking it every single time, trying to pull the whole thing down, right? Like we've seen him do many times. And as he was doing that, he started to notice, oh, the opponents are now afraid of me. They're back. They're giving me the lane to dunk because they don't want my legs or my arms, or they don't want to get hit by the hoops, whatever that thing is. So he's like, oh shit, my dad was right again. Be you, be just simple. Do the things that that are. Anyway, sorry, I'm off my soapbox. There's a number 2 there, Naren, that you're going to get to.
Thank you. That awesome story. Thank you so much, Ben. So the second part of your question was, if I'm a practice owner today, what are the different options, right? We first understood what effective marketing is, which is when people are looking for something you can do for them, you show up, and then you influence them to pick up the phone and call your office, right? Those are the 2 parts of marketing. Now, the second question is, what do practice owners have from a market? What choices or options do practice owners have from a marketing standpoint? And really, if you think about marketing today, it's really digital, right? 95% of the new patients are coming from digital marketing. So I'm just going to focus on digital. So inside the big umbrella called digital marketing, you have 4 options. Number 1, you have SEO, which is Google showing you for all kinds of different phrases and keywords like dentist near me, veneers, etc., near the top of Google for free. That's called search engine optimization. You showing up without paying any money to Google organically when people type in specific search terms. The second option is Google Ads. So you show up, but here you are not showing up organically for free. Rather, you are paying money to show up for those keywords. So you can say, hey, I'm going to bid $3 a click for this particular keyword. And then anytime somebody types that keyword, if I'm the one who's bidding the most, my ad is going to show up at the top. Of course, if somebody bids $5, then his ad is going to show up, higher than me. So Google will show these ads in the order of, the bid price. And then anybody can do that. As long as you bid high enough, you can get into the top 3 spots. So that's the second option, right? Showing up through Google Ads. And the third option is social media ads. So that's TikTok, Instagram. Those are the big platforms. X, or formerly known as Twitter, is starting to come up, but very, 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 very early days. I think, Elon Musk bought that company and gutted that company. He's fired 80% of the staff and reimagining the entire company. So I think it's still wait and see. So you can show up through social media ads, Instagram ads, and TikTok ads. And last but not least, you can also do what's called organic social media. So you could be a pimple popper. We all know pimple popper.
Every time you say that.
We could be one of those people. And we could get business that way. And of course, the challenge with that is only 1% of doctors that I know of, like we work with hundreds and hundreds of doctors, have that personality to be the pimple popper type, right? Tons of videos. And it's
kind of a broad way to market. You got to have like a product or service that can go across the country.
Exactly.
Or
because
the world.
Social media is not localized. So usually, like if you don't have a product that can go across the country, then you're not getting your full bang for the buck for the amount of time and money you spend in becoming the pimple popper, so to speak, in dentistry. So those are the 4 options to answer your second question. So SEO, Google SEO, ads, mostly Google paid ads, pay-per-click ads, social media ads, where you show up next to videos and everything else on social media platforms. And then finally, it's organic social media, like you become the pimple popper in dentistry.
Sorry, every time. My wife watches that show and I can't stand it. I got a couple of questions. Let's talk about customer acquisition costs or patient acquisition costs. You mentioned a couple of different channels of marketing. What is the average customer or patient acquisition cost on like Google Ads? Naren, do you know?
Absolutely. So it's a great question, right? When we talk about customer acquisition costs, you have to compare apples to apples. To apples. What I mean is, if you are acquiring, let's say, an emergency patient, you one channel, then you should compare that cost to acquiring the same emergency patient using another channel, right?
Using Google Ads versus SEO emergency patients.
Right. So let's take that
Interesting.
example. Emergency patient, Google Ads versus SEO. So SEO would cost, let's say, at the most, a really well done SEO program will cost you $20, right?
Okay.
For an emergency patient.
$20 to acquire an emergency patient.
Right.
Roughly.
And the same patient, if you're going to acquire through Google Ads, it would cost you $100.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when I come through Google Ads, I will spend 15 seconds on your website. And
Sure.
when I come through SEO, I will spend 90 seconds on your website.
Yeah.
So the chances of me actually following through and coming to your practice goes up significantly because I'm willing to give you 90 seconds. And the reason I'm willing to give you 6 times more time, like if I divide 90 by 15, is because I trust the SEO result, but I do not trust the Google ad result. Just because it's an ad, I immediately, the minute I'm clicking with distrust. I'm looking for what's the catch, what's wrong with this guy, why is he spending money on ads? Those are the thoughts in the back of my mind, or gal, right? So because we come with distrust, unless you are amazing, like you have an amazing landing page, I'm like, wow, he is really good, even though he's running an ad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call your office.
If you're going to run landing pages, make sure it's like A/B tested and it's using all the principles of influence, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I have another question on this topic because I'm always fascinated with marketing. It seems like most practices are targeting leads or potential patients when they're ready to buy or schedule. Is there any benefit from acquiring leads, like a lead list, and building up, thousands of patients on a lead list and constantly email marketing and text marketing them to then come into the office? Because I'm thinking about my buying cycle as a patient. Like, I don't go to the dentist too often. I'll admit that in the public, on a public podcast. But when I need to go to the dentist or to the doctor or whatever, I usually go when I get like an email or a text reminding me to go to a new, like if I just moved, right? So I looked for a couple new dentists that are closer to my house, for example. And is it worthwhile for a practice to build up an email list of potential patients that haven't yet come to the practice and continue to market to them, right? Versus just only marketing to the ones that are ready to buy. So having 2 marketing functions going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. And I think as the founder of Boom Cloud, I totally understand why you're asking the question, because that's kind of what you do. And that's what I would do, right? When we sell to our customers who happen to be doctors. I think, unfortunately, in this particular example, I would say no. This idea of going after clients who are not interested in buying today, but perhaps one day might be interested. And the reason for that is, again, psychology. Like, unfortunately, we live in the, fix it generation, right? Like, we don't do anything unless there's a problem or unless we think there is a problem. So it's like, most of us, right? That's why the pharmaceutical industry is so big. Till we get diabetes and until somebody says, take those pills, we don't do anything. That's why, hundreds of millions of people have diabetes. Like, if we were all proactive and we were like all proactively taking care of our health, we wouldn't have obesity, we wouldn't have diabetes, we wouldn't have any of these things. Now,
we're just all lazy. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just the way the humans work. Like, we don't do anything unless we have to. So I think, unfortunately, like, you can do this, but nobody will pay attention unless they feel there's a problem for them. So I think,
definitely is a motivator to buy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, in the dental context, emergency, right? Great motivator. Or I hate my smile and I know I hate, looking at myself in the mirror. That's a great motivator. Like, I feel like I need to do something either for my, personal life or my business life. I need to get that nice smile. But I have made that choice. I have made the decision. So when I have made that decision, I'm starting to look for answers. Marketing to them is really, really effective because you don't have to convince them. They're already convinced. You just have to make sure they believe you are the right answer for them, as opposed to, they believe that they need veneers, or they believe that they need a treatment, right? Like they already know they need it. You just have to convince them you are it for them. So we have to experiment with this whole list building ideas. But what I find is the other problem with that approach is people put doctors on a pedestal, right? Like we think doctors are one step above us as the average consumer, more educated, better social status, more knowledge. And that's because most doctors are associated as saving lives, right? Like, stop somebody from dying, stop somebody from suffering. So the minute you start doing these kind of proactive marketing when they don't even feel they have a need, they start looking at you as like a huckster, so to speak. I mean, we all know, the stories about people selling, medications and drugs going back to hundreds of years, right? Like, they put ads on, "Oh, drink this potion and, you're going to be smarter," and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's a fine line. So that's the second reason I'm not a huge fan of this idea of selling to people who don't believe they have a need.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm just curious.
So Naren, you mentioned a couple of things in the past here about different ways. On the patient side, right? Getting patients to find you, and then mastering the concept of getting patients then to choose you. So on number one there, how do you master getting patients to find you through the different marketing avenues that you recommend?
Yeah, so I'll give you the straight answer. You have two options to help people find you. One is Google search and the other one is Google ads. And why did I pick Google? Google controls 90+% of the search market. We use Google 8.5 billion times a day, and we are asking Google any and every question we have. Partly we are educating ourselves, partly we are trying to find the answer, partly we are trying to figure out which dentist we need to go to. So when people are asking Google these questions, if your practice shows up again and again and again, either through ads or through SEO, then you have an unfair advantage. Why? Because in their subconscious mind, your practice gets a place because they keep seeing you again and again and again. They remember you. So that's, I think, how you help people find you. The difference, of course, is if you want to be found all the time through ads, you need a massive ad budget. Already we know it's at least 5 times more expensive than SEO, but Google wants everybody's money. So even if you're willing to spend so much per click, unless you have a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 budget, as soon as your budget runs out, Google will go and show the ad for your competition. So it's a very expensive sport if you're trying to dominate people looking for dentists through ads. I mean, you're looking at $30,000, $40,000 minimum in a town of 100,000 people, because Google will take everybody's money. Google has no favoration. So I think the best way is SEO. But the problem with SEO is because Google makes so much money from ads, literally $224 billion last year. The problem with SEO is Google only allows 5% of dental practices to get 95% of the free traffic. Why? They want the 95% who don't get any free traffic to give them ad money. So it's a tough game. SEO is what I would recommend, but unless you learn how to get into the top 5% in Google SEO, then don't even bother playing that game, because it's like, if you're in the top 5%, you get all the benefit. If you're not in the top 5%, you get nothing as far as free traffic is concerned.
Yeah, that's interesting. Naren, what are a few things you should focus on to be on the top 5% of dominating Google SEO and helping dental patients find the practice regardless of what they type into Google? Because there's a lot of search terms that a patient can search for. How do you target all that?
Exactly. So let me define what top 5% means. How do you know if you are in the top 5%? You are in the top 5% of Google SEO if you rank for 100 or more keywords and phrases on page 1. So let me say that again. So I type in all kinds of different keywords. One keyword could be porcelain veneers 60616. That's a zip code. Another keyword could be the best veneer dentist Phoenix. That's the second keyword. Similarly, you should rank for 100 or more keywords on page 1. What do we mean by page 1? You are showing up in the top 10 results. Typically on one page of Google results, you will have 10 results. So at least you're on page 1. for 100 or more keywords. If that's happening to you, you are in the top 5%. And if you're in the top 5%, you are getting 95% of the free traffic. Now, your question, Jordan, is how do I get into the top 5%?
Yes.
There are 200 factors, but I'll put them into 6 buckets. So think of these buckets as buckets you have to dominate. You have to get an A+. It's like applying to, the dental school, the best dental school in the world. You have to get really good, standardized test, DAT exam scores. You have to get really good GPA, etc. Right? Similarly, there are 6 things or 6 buckets of things Google cares about where you need to ace every one of those. Number 1 is NAP, name, address, phone number consistency. Number 2 is Google Eat. This doesn't affect all industries, but it does affect dental practices and other healthcare practices. Number 3 is quality backlinks. Who's linking to you? Does Google like those links? The quality of those links. How many do you have? How many pages have links? Number 4 is original content. Do you have pages with more than 400 plus words where every single word or 95% of the words are written fresh versus being copied from somewhere else? So a 400 word page should not have more than 20 words that are copied. The 380 words have to be written fresh. And number 5 is Google reviews. Do you have high quality reviews that are coming in every week? Ideally paragraph reviews. And last but not least is Google Lighthouse score. So every single page gets a score in 5 different categories, 0 to 100 score. And in all 5 categories, are you getting 90 plus scores? And again, it's not for one page, but it's every single page. So if you do these 6 things well and you keep doing them well, then you are going to not only get into the top 5%, but stay in the top 5%. And if you keep working hard on these 6 things, you will keep moving up. You won't just stay in top 5, you'll go to top 4%, top 3%, top 2%. Of course, the higher you move up, the bigger your share of free traffic is versus the others who are paying 5 to 10 times more for the same traffic through ads.
That's interesting. Sounds like a very detailed process. I can see why now a lot of people don't do it and rely on experts, is because there's a lot to consider, right? So thank you for that insight, Naren. That's been quite amazing. So, if I'm a dentist and I want to take action and explore next steps with these marketing concepts that you're talking about, Naren, where should I start?
Yeah, I think the simple thing is to just don't overcomplicate. The problem, I think, that happens in dentistry and healthcare is a doctor would go to a conference and somebody throws a new buzzword. And of course, buzzword is more sexy than anything else. We get caught up in that buzzword and we run behind it. Versus remembering it's all about the basics. It's all about the fundamentals. Like Michael Jordan said it, right? Marketing is helping people find you, meaning when they're looking for things, you show up. And then once they find you, are you giving them enough reasons to choose you? So having good pages that when they go and look at it, they're like, wow, you are the best for veneers. You are the best for, implants, whatever the services you are trying to provide to your customers. That's it. Once you understand it, figure out where you stand. So step 1, I would recommend is find out in these 6 things when it comes to SEO, where do you stand? Are you acing all of them or are you acing 3 of them and not doing as well in the other 3? And then get a roadmap. So we are gifting a free marketing review, or we call it a marketing strategy meeting. And the link is insuranceuntangled.com/MSM, insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. So go to that link, book a marketing strategy meeting. We will tell you how you stand with regards to Google. Like, are you in the top 5%? If you're not, what you need to do to get to the top 5%. We'll also tell you what you need to do to convince those people to pick up the phone and call your office. Because just being in the top 5%, but if your landing pages are not effective, you still won't get the phone to ring. So get the report card, get a plan, and then execute on it. Whether you work with us, Equa, or somebody else, doesn't matter. As long as you understand the game to play and then play it consistently, you're going to be better off next year and the year after. And I noticed this with our clients, like 95% of our clients stay with us year after year. And that's the secret. they don't complicate life. They don't complicate marketing. They understand the simple 2 steps in the marketing process, and they just stick with it year after year after year. They get better and better and better in these 2 steps, showing up and then convincing people once they find them on Google search. InsuranceUntangled.com/MSM.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Naren. Thank you for sharing all these great ideas and suggestions, and letting us sort of have a sneak peek of what's inside that big brain of yours from a marketing perspective. And thank you, Jordan, for starting us off. And my job here today is to close us out. Week of Thanksgiving, so we got to kind of get ready for upcoming festivities. And as you do that,
stuffing our faces, yeah,
and trying not to get heart attacks. I know that's a real thing, because one of my employees got a heart attack the day after Thanksgiving last year.
Gosh.
So be safe, be healthy during the holiday season. I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us on another amazing episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you like today's episode, share this with your friends on social media or any other platform that you use. And don't forget to write us a review. And then, by the way, check us out at InsuranceUntangled.com. Take up Naren's offer for that marketing strategy meeting. Those links, of course, will be posted in the show notes. Until we meet again, everybody, have a great day. Have a happy holidays, no matter what time of the year you listen to this. Enjoy life, be healthy, and stay well. Take care, everybody.